At a time when the Sony PlayStation 3 was struggling to justify its high $600 price tag, and owners of the console were craving an exciting new shooter to dig their teeth into, the market was more ripe than ever for the grand return of a universe previously overlooked by many, in a sequel that would become beloved by even more. Despite the rough state of release and mediocre reception of the original Killzone, both Sony and Guerrilla Games could still see the immense potential yet untapped within the universe they'd created. To this end, a sequel to Killzone was actually greenlit shortly after the first game's release, and a big reveal took audiences by storm at E3 2005.
We've got incoming anti-air! This is gonna be rough! Move away! You're gonna be in our line of fire! Parker! 10 seconds to touchdown! Hey, listen up! Hold on tight! Touchdown!
The graphics shown in this trailer were groundbreaking, enormous amounts of resources being rendered on screen at once, lifelike facial and movement animations all supposedly rendered in real time on PS3 hardware. The visuals were simply unbelievable. So much so that audiences literally didn't believe they were real despite various claims from the then president of Sony Computer Entertainment America, Jack Tretton, to the contrary. As it turned out, to pretty much no one's surprise, these visuals were the result of a pre-rendered video meant to convey the developer's intentions for the look of the finished product. This announcement trailer dropped less than a year after the first game's release and offered a glimpse of what the brand could become on the advanced hardware of the PlayStation 3. With hype levels growing and the Killzone name beginning to spread, news regarding this sequel went practically silent for almost 4 years. That is a long time in the gaming industry. The spin-off Killzone Liberation would release in 2005 for the PlayStation Portable, which did manage to help keep interest in the series alive for a while, but years continued to pass with little word on the status of Killzone 2. This was not an indicator that the game was struggling, quite the opposite in fact. Behind the scenes, the team was hard at work grinding away to create a sequel so ambitious that it would seem nearly unrecognizable to fans of the first game. Killzone 2 was being developed on top of a brand new proprietary engine designed with both it and the PS3 in mind, featuring a plethora of new features and mechanics to help it stand out among its competitors. These features include things like extensive motion capture animations across the game's runtime, new lighting and shader effects, and photorealistic visuals. As progress was made on the game, the executives at Sony must have seen where things were headed and known they were sitting on something special, because Killzone 2's initial budget of $20 million was more than doubled to somewhere between $40 and $45 million before development was completed. When the game finally released on February 27, 2009, it took the industry by storm. Well, I mean, it took PlayStation 3 owners by storm, at least, because just like its predecessor was to the PS2, Killzone 2 is a PlayStation 3 exclusive, which may have helped fuel console sales, but also ensured huge swaths of people missed out on it because they didn't have the means to get a PS3. Myself included. Until I decided to cover these games, I had never played this one, even though it's right up my alley and I would have probably loved it back then. Also, full disclosure, I'm playing this on an emulator, so it is technically playable on PC, but as you'll see based on this footage, it's a pretty unstable experience. I should have mentioned this in my Killzone 1 coverage, but being one of those guys who is obsessive about preserving video games as art, a key factor of pursuing to play these games was in hopes of finding out how stable they could feasibly be played on the PC. Both 1 and 2 can be run reasonably well, but 2 still needs some work to run smoothly. I'd still recommend giving it a shot though if you think your rig can run it, assuming you're more of a narrative over gameplay kind of player. If smooth gameplay is a must though, I'd say only try it if you've got access to a PS3. I really hope the stability of this software will continue to improve as we move forward, because although these games so desperately deserve PC ports, I get the painful feeling that it's very unlikely to happen anytime soon. So for those of us who might not have access to a PS3 at the moment, this is our only avenue, assuming you're doing it legally by already owning a physical copy of the game for yourself, of course. Since my videos have a narrative focus, however, the little performance issues weren't nearly game-breaking enough to hold me back from pursuing it. Speaking of the narrative, the story of Killzone 2 is a near direct sequel to the events of the first game and the spin-off Liberation, though following a 2-year time skip from the first game. We're back with Jan Templar again, although we don't play as him, and he's been promoted to Colonel now as he leads an ISA fleet to assault Pyrrhus, the capital city of Helgen. The goal is to locate and arrest Emperor Scholar Vizari, and then charge him with war crimes against the ISA in hopes of putting an end to the war. This task proves to be a grave undertaking, however, as not only are the Helghast forces more than prepared for such an invasion, the fact that they've adapted to the harsh conditions of their home planet and the ISA have not gives them a massive home field advantage. In spite of the harsh environmental conditions and formidable forces of the Helghast military, Templar and his forces may be the only hope of putting a stop to this war once and for all. Killzone 2 opens quite a bit differently from the first game. Instead of fading into a trench dug into rain, mud, and blood, our protagonist awakens from a quick nap before looking at himself in the mirror, clearly showing off the power of this new game engine. And yeah, it looks fantastic. From here, the game sort of walks us through a very stereotypical dude bro military prologue as we meet our new team readying themselves to descend into hell and fight to the bloody death, helping me once again realize the inevitable passage of time as my biological clock is ticking and I am losing the chance to die gloriously on the battlefield fighting for the victory of my people. Anyway, Rico is back, and he's going to be leading us this time around, as opposed to Templar, whose valiant efforts in the last 2 games have led him to a promotion, and he won't be putting his boots on the ground anymore. What happens next is a very impressive set-piece sequence as we descend down to the Helgen homeworld on our first mission of the game on what might be the single most impractical troop carrier transport I've ever seen in my life.
Arza, I'm not pulling your sorry ass out of the fire like back on Soren.
And who started the fire by opening up on the patrol?
Natko's just a natural-born diplomat. Fuck you.
Hey, check it out. Joe started.
Whoa, man! That's gotta send a message! Man, I live for this shit! Natko? Yeah? They want to buckle up.
Here we go!
Oh, yeah! Holy crap! No kidding! You ever seen this before? Vector, maybe!
Vector was nothing to this shit.
You taste that?
Missile propellant. You don't want to inhale that stuff.
Keep low! Incoming flash! Oh, shit! Oh! This is fucked up! Hang on! 200 meters! We're dropping shots! Crap!
The battle begins as I touch down in the Corinth River, and again, this game is just stunning to look at. Seriously, I'm going to be talking about that a lot. I don't mean graphically either. I mean, yes, the graphics are good, but I mean the massive scale and the detailed intensity of the level design. It's all so cool to look at and play through. Right away, we're introduced to a pretty crucial new feature of this game, and that's a cover mechanic. Yes, you could just duck into cover, but the game allows you to snap against the cover instead, like something you'd see in a third-person game. It actually works surprisingly well, too. Once you get into cover, you do seem to take less damage overall, and peeking out to fire works exactly as you would expect. Whether or not you enjoy cover shooters like this, however, will impact your enjoyment of this game, as you will be spending a lot of time in cover. This game isn't even pretending to be competing with Halo anymore, but it does show some striking similarities to the Call of Duty games of that time, along with the Gears of War games. Killzone 2 would feel right at home in a catalog of those 2 series, no doubt about it. We also have another massive improvement over the first game that this one is so eager to show us that it can't help telling us how to do it on the screen. That's right, we can jump now. It's not the greatest jump, and our character still feels pretty heavy and weighty overall, but the fact that we can even jump at all is a very nice little addition. And you just know this game wanted to show off this new innovation on the Killzone 2 engine because it rarely puts things on your heads-up display, and yet it felt the need to tell us that the X button jumps, as if we wouldn't figure that out. Speaking of the heads-up display, it is surprisingly unintrusive. I've mentioned on the channel before how much I love it when games figure out ways to keep the HUD from obstructing your screen, and Killzone 2 takes on the very practical and heavily underutilized practice of simply showing you what you need to see when it matters and then fading it off of the screen. I don't care what anyone says, this is peak HUD design. And unlike the first game, our squad members actually matter in this game. After clearing this area, we split off to go open the literal floodgate with only one member of our squad, that being the likable Garza. And look, we even have teamwork animations. I have to say, the squad in this game has been injected with so much more life and personality in this title compared to the first one. Garza makes dynamic callouts during combat, yelling at you if he sees you taking hits, applauding you if he sees you tearing through the enemy, etc. It's great. After fighting our way to the floodgate valve is when I encountered the most powerful enemy in the game. The floodgate valve itself. If you're hoping to emulate Killzone 2 and you don't have a DualShock PS3 or 4 controller, you will not be able to pass this section. This is because the game relies on the motion control aspects of the DualShock 3 and 4 controllers to turn the valve. So if you don't have one of those lying around, don't even bother downloading this because it's already over for you. With the floodgate opened, I'm able to push forward as I watch my allied convoy continue heading into the city. This is where the game shows us a fun little extra thing to do as you play through the missions by collecting these pieces of intel. Each level has a number of these scattered throughout the map for you to collect. It's not really any kind of major thing, but I appreciate the extra incentive to explore levels. Well, as much as these linear levels can be explored anyway. When the game came out, the purpose of these intel bits was to allow players to use what they found to unlock extra bonus content on Killzone.com. While writing for this video, I went and checked Killzone.com to see if maybe, against all odds, there was still a place for this, and it just redirected me straight to the PlayStation.com homepage. Amazing. It was at this point I realized you have a knife that isn't even related to your primary melee button. This is very useful if you run out of ammo, or if you're from London. I hope you were missing those turret sections from the first game, because they're back with a vengeance. Although I have to say, I don't care if you hate turret sections or not, you've got to admit this is awesome.
Whoa, yeah! See that?
This is a stellar opening mission. After making our way to this bridge area, I find my boys being pinned down by a host of MG nests and enemy gunfire, so I obviously start to make my way meticulously across this bridge, wipe out those MG nests, blow up an enemy tank with an RPG we found lying on the ground, and that's when we get another massive addition to the game's mechanics. After the driver to our allied tank gets taken out, I have to sprint across the battlefield and jump into it to start butchering through the enemy Hellghast. It's cool, but it's not great. It doesn't control super well, and the area available for us to move around in is so small that it almost feels pointless to have given us a vehicle here in the first place. This is a really bad introduction to your game's vehicle mechanics, but it's not so bad to the point where it isn't fun, so it's fine. After I finally manage to cut down the remaining Hellghast forces, I get out of the tank to regroup with my team so we can report to Visari Square, where the ISA forces are under an intense amount of pressure right now.
Captain Narwhal is expecting you ASAP. Convoy's taking a real hammering.
Visari Square. Yippity fucking doo-dah.
Hurry up, Garza.
Garza, you look cold! I am cold! Next time we're at Mania Hotel!
Check your weapons.
Check!
Point it down,
Hey!
rookie.
Safety's on!
Where are the other units? Here they come.
Get out of the way! Hey, assholes! We're on the same side!
Where you going?
Same as you! Assisting the convoy in Visari Square!
Holy shit! What the fuck? What was that? Lightning!
Looks like Mama Watch Tower.
Shit! No one told us that!
Run, Captain Norville.
What?
Run, Norville. Go! Get on! Let's go!
Well, it looks like my boys and I were dropped right into the heart of a Hellghast swarm. We can see one of our teammates being burned alive from an explosion while the wind blows pieces of buildings and particles everywhere. Detail is one thing this game continues to do right, until we're told to put a charge on this door to blow it open. This motion control gimmick sucks. I can appreciate they're trying to innovate and take full advantage of the PS3's hardware, but tilting my controller around like I'm trying to steer a car doesn't make me feel immersed. It breaks my immersion and makes me feel like an idiot. I do not miss this gimmick at all. The game shows us the slums and the city streets outside of Vasari Square here, and it's pretty fantastic. Moving from building to building like this, getting into firefights while the concrete and wood around us simply crumbles to pieces is awesome. After clearing through these slums and progressing into a tunnel, I am able to find a fun new toy, the STA-11 SMG. This is just my kind of weapon. It spits out bullets like the firearm itself is hyped up on adrenaline and packs a major punch against enemies while it's at it. Oh look, they come in extra large. None of the weapons in this game are very accurate, but damn, it isn't nearly as unbearable as the first game this time around. Employing our new SMG and more than a couple of grenades, I'm finally able to bring the brute down. What comes next is a rather dense set piece of more than a dozen glowing red eyes running around what appears to be an old apartment complex of some kind. This is yet another impressive set piece for a firefight, and they seem to just keep coming. Our focus is oriented on this massive lightning weapon, apparently called an arc tower. Once we make it to the platform upon which said weapon is stationed on, it becomes a matter of fending off the defending Helghast soldiers when it dawns on our heroes that we have no idea how to actually take it down. So I went with the obvious answer of pushing this button to expose its power cells and then just shooting it a whole bunch.
Now's not really the time, sir! Come on, let's go!
And with that down, our boys sprint into cover where Garza reveals he snatched a piece of the destroyed tower to hand over to Captain Narville, except Rico is requesting backup, so Garza splits off on his own to go deliver said item as I stay behind to go relink with Rico near Vasari Square. Guerrilla did a spectacular job of making these streets feel real and lived in. I have to say, the majority of this level is going to be these tighter knit corridor sequences, but man, they work well. Even in spite of me struggling against my own controller to even do the most basic aiming, it still manages to be really fun to play. Now is actually a great time to address that. I'm assuming due to the kinks still being ironed out of the emulation process here, trying to control the game is just short of a nightmare. Often I would be looking left and my character wouldn't stop turning even if I did, not to mention that trying to aim is incredibly unresponsive, but I can't comment on that since I'm pretty confident that it's an emulator issue as well. Don't blame me for the aim, alright? I was trying my best. From here we enter into a short tower defense segment. Rico and I just have to hold down this position until we can find a way out of here, and in the meantime, the Helghast soldiers are going to come pouring out. The game also repeatedly demonstrates that Garza is the only character who knows how to hack these Helghast panels, so when he's not around, there's no getting through.
Where the fuck is Garza when you need him?
Who finally makes his way back to our position.
Took your sweet time getting here. What'd you do, stop off and make lunch?
Yeah, my mom packed me a lunchbox with a nice ham sandwich. Delicious.
Next time, make sure she packs mine before I leave in the morning.
Finally making it through the building, me and the boys here are able to start closing the gap between us and Scholar Vasari when all hell starts breaking loose as we make it to Vasari Square. As we fight to secure the square, I should probably catch you up on who Scholar Vasari even is really quickly. He's the leader of the Helghan Empire, obviously, but he was able to formulate said empire with his claims to secure Vecta for the Helghast on a glorious conquest. As we saw in Killzone 1, that operation went up in flames, and the Helghast were fought back to Helghan where they remained. According to the lore, Haka, the human Helghast half-breed from the first game, had formulated a plan to assassinate Vasari and end the war. He even proposed Shadow Marshal Luger to be the one to do it. The ISA government rejected this idea, however, in favor of a full-scale invasion of the planet Helgen, with intent to capture Visari alive and force him to stand trial, because of course they did. This was the last time either Haka or Luger were heard from in the series. Yeah, Haka retired and Luger disappeared, which I found pretty odd given that 2 of our 4 protagonists from the first game are gone before the sequel even starts. Although Rico and Templar are still around, so we've got that. After a vicious fight against the remaining Helghast forces, we're able to claim Visari Square for the ISA.
Take that, Visari!
What do you know? We just took Visari Square.
Take a bow, Alpha. What would they do without us?
Keep moving forward! Use your damn covering fire! Damn it. Get our asses kicked. Shit! Rat! Rico, heads up! Reddick's troops are in the area!
Forward! Forward!
Get your ass to cover on the double!
Oh, shit!
Things aren't looking good. Radek and his men just forced us off of the bridge, and now we're going to have to make our way back around to rendezvous with our boys. This leads us into the guts of what I think is a water processing plant, or something, which only adds to the sweet irony of the weapon we find stashed down here. A flamethrower. This should be fun to test out. We don't have to go far before our boy Garza finds us.
Hey, Seb! Rico sent me from the convoy to guide you back. Shit! Get up here!
Damn, these Helghast don't believe in giving you a moment's rest, but it's a great opportunity to put this flamethrower to the test, and let me tell you, it doesn't disappoint. That's the smell of burning flesh and dead dreams. We need to stay focused though and relink with the convoy to overtake that bridge and enter the city. We've got a war to win after all. And this does feel significantly more like a war than the first game. Honestly, everything about this feels better than the first game, but I'll talk about that later. The environment on this planet is exactly as harsh as we were promised. The entire time we're fighting, the sound of furious winds spinning out of control around us feels perpetual. It's like we're constantly on the verge of a lightning storm, but never quite see it, and that is how Helgen is at all times. Dark clouds, lightning storms at random, dangerously high velocity winds. It's no wonder the Helghast ended up like they did, having to survive here. Garza and me aren't out of this yet though. Pushing deeper into whatever the hell this building is, we're given orders to locate and destroy some Helghast mortar launchers that are tearing our convoy to shreds. So naturally we have to fight off an unhealthy amount of opposition before finding the damn things, placing our D-charges on them, and offering our regards on behalf of the ISA. Alright, that's one down. Now let's go find the other one.
Watch and learn, Seb. This is the easy way to open one of these babies. Almost there.
So realistically, Garza is dead. I just watched him take a shotgun to the side of the head, but of course, he's not actually dead because we just zap him with our little plot armor gun and he's right back up and moving. If you can't tell, this game was made to be played cooperatively. That shotgun is now ours though, and we're going to put it to very good use, which does include the occasional decapitation. I'd expect nothing less from a shotgun, and this thing very much so delivers. Finding the second mortar, we place our charge, pull the trigger, and finally start making our way back to the convoy.
Alpha, can you talk?
It's quiet right now, Evelyn. What's on your mind?
The short version? There's some unknown element on that metal fragment you recovered. It's dense, unstable. It packs a massive electrical charge.
This stuff powers the Arc Towers?
The amount needed would be huge, but yes. The puzzle is that we can't spot the distribution system from up here.
We're on the ground. Actually, we're heading under it. We'll keep our eyes open. Oh, hey, Evelyn. got some intel for you. We caught a message from Radek on Hig Comms. Mentioned some defense system. Maybe it's related?
I'll tell the Colonel. Keep us updated.
Copy that.
Sounds like that shard we found has something to do with the natural resources here on Helgen. Just keep that in mind as we go. Getting back to the convoy, we find Rico, who tells us that a nearby rooftop is flooded with hellgas, taking shots at our allies from up high. At first, I did as much as I could with this mounted LMG, but I quickly realized that things were going to have to get up close and personal to resolve this situation, which means Garza and me fighting our way up to the roof to wipe them out. Only problem is, there's no way up there, which means we're resorting to Plan B, sticking a series of D-charges on every primary support pillar, and, well... I love this game.
Shit. You done? Or you want to level a few more blocks just to be sure?
Hey, better safe than sorry.
We gotta get that convoy across ASAP. Sam, Garza, you lead the assault. Let's move!
Well, we're right back to the bridge again after a short detour, and there are an unbelievable number of Hellgas soldiers trying to keep us from crossing it. The sequence of fighting across this bridge offers up some of the most visually cinematic and intense FPS combat I think I've ever seen in my life. The wind is soaring like we're in a hurricane with no rain. There's literal fighting all around us. The city in the background is in flames. Particles dance around the battlefield as if reacting to our every shot, and the overwhelming sounds of constant gunfire and explosions rides a fine line between numbing and satisfying. Halfway through our push, the Hellgas raise the bridge, and understandably so. Unfortunately, that means we won't be able to get our vehicles across until we get this thing lowered back down. So it's up to me and Garza to make our way down the side of the bridge and flank around to find a way of getting that bridge down. On our way to do that, however, we seize an opportunity to take out this AA gun, and while we're at it, we may as well put it to good use. After that, it's just a matter of getting up to the other side and lowering the bridge for our boys to cross over, which is just a matter of turning this valve. After that, it all descends into a war of who can fire the most bullets at who the fastest. I think now is actually a great time to talk a little bit about our new protagonist, Corporal Thomas Sevchenko, but the squad simply calls him Sev. Sev is not a silent protagonist and does talk here and there throughout the game, although far less than the other characters do, and roughly half the amount that Templar talked in the first game. Unlike Killzone 1, we never changed perspectives while playing through this game's campaign. We only ever assume the role of Sev. I'm not sure what the exact reason was for making these changes, but I am extremely glad they did, because it made both the flow of the story and the characterization of our hero significantly smoother. Whereas Killzone 1 felt like it was trying to be a gritty war movie and winded up feeling more like an old Saturday morning cartoon, Killzone 2 feels like it just wants to be a high-octane action movie and actually succeeds at it. The writing is just so much better this time. I can't properly elaborate the size of the massive gap between the cheesy, cliche-riddled dialogue of the first game and the concise yet impactful dialogue of this one. Pretty much the silliest thing we hear is everyone constantly calling the Hellgast Higgs as a slang, but to be honest, that feels totally feasible to a situation like this, and it's got a charm to it. Hell, I even started using it just for fun. Even the scenarios themselves feel tense and realistic in a good way. It's not like the best writing I've ever seen or anything, well, some of it might be, but for the most part, it's just what I'd call really damn good. Back to Sev, they somehow managed to make him feel like less of a bland character than Templar was, despite having half the dialogue, but that isn't to say he's compelling. In fact, he seems to have the least personality of the whole squad, but this works well as it complements the more exaggerated personalities of our teammates. Anyway, after clearing the bridge, the game actually managed to trick me into thinking we were about to get a vehicle section. We get called over to these buggies and speed forward in a cutscene, but it's short-lived and we never get to use it in gameplay. It's just a transition to the Helghast Academy.
Hell? Must be from that explosion we saw earlier. Is that the same shit we got from the Arc Tower?
Looks like it. Wonder where this shit is coming from.
We should tell Evelyn when we get a chance. It's too quiet in here.
Yeah, something's fishy.
Of course it's an ambush, but no worries, I've got a shotgun. Again, if my gameplay is looking very janky, it's because trying to control it with my PS4 controller on an emulator was incredibly stiff and unreliable. Sometimes my character just wouldn't respond to my inputs. Other times my inputs felt delayed, and overall I felt like I was fighting the game itself to play it. So let that be a testament to just how damn good this game is, because I was still having a blast in spite of these mechanical issues, because Killzone 2 is literally just that fun. Also, why is Sev a manlet but only in gameplay? We see him with the other characters in cutscenes, and he's the same height as everyone else. Maybe even a little taller. But when you stand next to anyone else in game, they're quite a bit taller than you. It's like you're 5 feet tall for some reason. Or like he's wearing a body cam on his chest. I have no idea why this is.
Listen.
Oh, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, for now. It's a fucking A-tap!
We're like sitting ducks down here. We gotta get to the roof.
We get cut off from the rest of Alpha Squad and end up having to face down this Helghast drone by ourselves in a sort of pseudo-boss battle. It's called an ATAC, which stands for Agile Tactical Air Component. These things are pretty deadly, but we managed to take it down by exploiting the Academy's electrical defense system to overload the ATAC and hit it with a few rockets.
Nice one. ATAC taken out.
Get a team out there now and secure that impact site! Keep those units moving! Want to knock on Vasari's door inside the hour. Sir, unidentified object at 12 o'clock. Stop the convoy! Repeat! Stop the convoy! Look out! What the hell's going on? Some kind of shit!
Colonel Raddock, report. What are their losses? I want this day to be a day of mourning for the ISA.
The enemy convoy has been decimated. The weapon performed adequately.
I know you'd rather taste their blood spilt in battle. But a live commander is more valuable to me than a dead hero.
As you wish.
Alpha 1 to command. It's all going to shit, Colonel.
Run those numbers
Understood.
again. We have to be sure.
Evelyn's working on it.
Those pillars, they're powered by the same compound as the Arc Towers. We've tracked the electrical signature of the
Pipelines you discovered to the wastelands. Satellite scans show some activity
around the old refineries.
I need Alpha on the ground to help take out whatever's powering those defenses.
I'm sending Evelyn to help you track down the source.
Sir.
Our war just got a whole lot worse, right?
You have no idea.
So it looks like the Helghast have some kind of electrical defense system in the ground, and they just used it to immobilize our convoy, which means changing tactics. This doctor is Evelyn Batten. You may remember her from Killzone Liberation, since Templar saved her during the events of that game. She's a weapons researcher, and she's here to help us track down and locate the power system for the defense grid we just watched blow up half our convoy. This takes us quite a ways outside of the city, however, into a very interesting location. The Helgen Wasteland, as it were. Do I even need to point out the visuals here? This is the alien world-like visuals I was longing for in the first Killzone. This is a sci-fi action shooter, and it's awesome. Blowing sands, desolate ruins of a leftover factory, and again, why does Seth feel like he's less than 4 feet tall here? What is happening? Whatever, this place needs power before we can figure out what's going on and locate the source of that weapon's energy, so Rico and I break off from the group and start scouting ahead to see what we can find. Turns out, we need to open the antenna control manually, which means finding said antenna amidst these dilapidated ruins. Shouldn't be too hard, right?
Evelyn, we found the scout team. They're dead. Butcher.
Well, the bad news is that the advanced scout team is dead. The good news is that we found a new weapon called the bolt gun. It's exactly what you think it is. I love this game. These bolts will pin an enemy to the wall upon contact, and then proceed to explode about 3 seconds after to ensure termination. So yeah, I held on to this one for a while. The Helghasts are onto us now, and since the only language the Helghasts speak is all-out violence, we're forced to answer in turn. Eventually, we make our way inside of a mine littered in containers of a volatile fuel source called petricite. It's what the Helghasts use to power most of their technology. And as if that wasn't problematic enough, there's these little electrified bugs crawling around that attack and zap us. Only a minor setback, however, before we finally get to the antenna. Now all we need to do is clear the area, turn this valve, and then relink with the rest of Alpha Squad.
Great! That did it! Antennas are now linked. There's the carrier wave. I'm establishing comms uplink to the new sun now.
We'll head back to you.
Weird. There's hundreds of small petricite signatures showing up.
Well, that can't be good.
Rico, we're being attacked. They have us cornered here. I don't think Natco and Garza can hold them off much longer. We need help.
Yep, it's not good. The ensuing fight back to our squad is tense. Reinforcements have arrived, and they're really mad about us being here. While we're on our way to rescue our squad, now is a great time to talk a little bit about Rico. You'll remember in the first game, Rico was a heavy weapons specialist who really hated the Helghast for killing his teammates. His uncontrolled aggression nearly got Templar and the others into trouble a few times, but eventually, Rico grew a little bit and even saved their half-Helghast team member from dying on the SD platform. Well, he's back as a main character again here, but his personality is just about the same as it was before. So working with him, we're able to kill our way to Evelyn and our squad for a confrontation.
Now go, come in.
Get moving! Go on!
Fuck!
Move it, bitch!
Come on! Can't afford to lose it!
Well, we can't let them take 3 of our own prisoners, so we're gonna have to give chase. They're taking Evelyn, Natco, and Garza to a train, and if we don't catch this one, we can pretty much rest assured we'll never see them again. So you guessed it, we're fighting our way to that train. It might seem simple, but something about the firefights on these catwalks feels like a legit sequence from an action movie. Pushing corners, hitting Higgs with a knife, exchanging fire across balconies, it's so cool. Also, this knife is mad overpowered. We might not have melee execution animations anymore, but melee combos and a very reliable combat knife make for more than a suitable enough replacement.
We lose that train, we're screwed! Sir, come on! Jump! Find out where this thing's going. Let's get to the engine.
Is it really an action game if we don't have a scene where we fight our way across a moving train? It may seem a little cliche, but it's also awesome, so I'm about it. Pushing our way from one side of the train to the other actually turns out to be significantly more difficult than I was initially expecting. I mean, the shotgun makes things way easier overall, but you know what makes things even easier than a shotgun?
Get up on that turret and hose down the Higgs with the MG!
A heavy machine gun. This game feels loaded with set pieces, and despite being a shorter game than the first one, it's leagues better. In my coverage of the first Killzone, I mentioned that it felt bloated and like it should have been cut from 11 missions down to something more like 8 or 9, with a heavier emphasis on making it feel like the sci-fi shooter it was claiming to be. Well, Killzone 2 does exactly that while only having one less mission than the first game. After blowing up a tank and cutting through the remaining Hellgas soldiers on the train, we're able to find the conductor and make him pull this train to a grinding halt.
Where's this train going to?
Refinery! I have to stop the train! The driver probably screwed up.
Civilian maggot asleep at his console.
So we've shown up at some kind of refinery where Rico and Sev are going to split up and search for the rest of Alpha Squad. I love it when these games give us little segments to split off on our own like this. It just gives me the feeling of those old 7th generation shooter titles where you'd spend most of the game isolated as you fight your way through strange and interesting environments. The refinery level design is downright inspired. I mean, yes, it is aesthetically just a factory, but the way they incorporate the fictional Petricite element into the area gives it just enough of a fantastical edge to be brilliantly unique. Looks like we've got a big one, and he's shockingly dangerous with that weapon he's got. This section acts kind of like a mini-boss, where we're shooting crates moving overhead to stagger him and then blow up the red tank on his back. Although the reward for doing so is just beautiful. An infinite ammo, self-recharging electricity cannon. I'm a simple man, I admit this. Sometimes all it takes to appease me is a fiery industrial environment to corridor shoot at enemies with a perpetual energy lightning gun. Anyway, let's take a ride. From here, we can just ride this bucket straight out of this factory and electrocute several dozen Hellgas while we're at it. After making our way out of said bucket, we're able to relink with Rico.
Hey, Seb, check it out. This looks like what Evelyn was talking about. I'm no expert on this shit, but all the pipes from the Barrens come through here on their way to the city. This here looks like the core. We take this out, the whole thing should be fucked.
Looks like we've got a goal, and we head straight out of this room towards where the rest of Alpha Squad is as Rico goes on a long rant about how the brass seem to care more about themselves and their goals than the men and women being slaughtered on this, what is essentially an invasion mission. He rightly points out that it should have been a whole party of ISA on this endeavor, not 4 soldiers and a scientist. We can only hope we make it there before we're out of time.
I don't know anything.
You're wasting my time. I'm not a very patient man. You understand why I'm here?
I guess your mom got drunk with the guys one night.
You are next. Unless she gives me the nuclear codes.
Shit. I could take the son of a bitch from here.
No. His men have him covered. I'll flank him. Wait for me.
You better hurry.
Only the fleet commander has access to the launch codes.
Can you reprogram the warheads?
Even if I could, I wouldn't.
Is that your final word?
Fuck this.
Rico, no!
Motherfucker!
Kill him!
Garza!
Don't let them out alive!
Come on, Sergeant, quick now!
Well, Rico has gotten us into a pretty rough situation, and now Garza is bleeding out on the floor. Lucky we have this sentient incineration machine in our hands to deal with the multitude of hellgas between us and the exit.
Shit! This door is locked down! Garza, talk me through this!
Okay. Just pry the case open and rip all the fucking wires out.
My idea of picking a lock.
It's hard to know whether Rico is right or not, because Sev did seem to have a plan, but it also looked like Rico acted at the last second. Unfortunately, that's something we'll have to deal with later, because our LZ is currently crawling with targets for our new weapon, and since this is the last time we'll see this thing in the game, I'm damn well gonna use it. It doesn't take long to clear the area with this thing, but even then, we're still too late.
Here's our ride. Come on.
Sev, I don't think I can.
Well, next time, try to stay... Garza! Garza! Easy, buddy. Just hang on. Oh, come on. Damn it, don't you quit on me now! Garza! Garza! Man down! Medic! Over here! I need help now! I need a medic, goddammit!
Sev.
Back off. Back the fuck off.
Whoa, take it easy. Rico, just leave it, man.
All personnel to backup stations. Repeat, all personnel to backup.
Shit! What now? Come on!
Sev, let's go! Move! Come in! This is Rico! Come in! Damn it! I can't get through to the bridge! Sev, take the elevator to the bridge! Find out what the Colonel's plan is!
Never a dull moment. The cruiser is under attack from aerial hellgassed forces, it seems, and we need to get to the bridge and figure out what the move is here to keep this thing in the sky. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little caught off guard by this. I really didn't expect them to kill Garza off, especially with how much character they bothered to give him throughout the game's story so far. I was honestly a little bit sad about it. Also, a little bit mad at Rico, too. It's hard to know if his intervention got Garza killed or saved Natko and Evelyn, but he definitely acted out of line, that much is sure. Rico's aggression has been out of control since the first game, and he hasn't changed much. As for what's happening now, the aerial ship we arrived on is currently under attack by Hellgast forces, which means we need to go link up with Templar and figure out what's going on here.
Comms are out entirely.
Uploading grid coordinates to the warheads. A few more minutes.
Copy. Initializing missile launch sequence.
Damn.
We have damage to the launch ports.
How many?
All of them. Sergeant, we're gonna take out the Petrosite grid, but we need more time. Help keep those Higgs off our backs. We need to manually override the launch ports. Damn it! Get moving, Sergeant! Start with the gun deck!
Well, alright, looks like our mission now is simple enough. Head down to the gun deck and butcher every enemy we see, which makes it such a convenience to find this LMG just waiting for us. It's what you'd expect. We have to move around the carrier and take out whatever Hellgast have managed to make their way onto the ship. It's kind of a wave defense section, even ending on another one of these mini-bosses where we have to stagger him and shoot the red tank on his back. After taking him down, the situation escalates. The ship itself is being bombarded by Hellgast fighters, and there's no one manning the turrets right now. So, you can guess what comes next.
They're dead. They're all dead. Let us in.
I need your name, rank, and service number.
What the hell? This isn't time for protocol!
The security cameras are out. I need to identify you before I can open the door.
Corporal Billingers, Victor Mike 73469er Bravo X-ray.
Okay, you check out. Come on in.
clear the goddamn airspace. Sergeant, we got Hig jet fighters all over us. Could use you on the port-aft AA gun. Get down the stairs to the gun deck, sir.
Alright, guess we need to move. Honestly, Killzone 2 has been quite a bit more reserved with these turret sections than the first game was, so that's already nice. But also, this scene looks amazing. Seriously, this whole segment is one of the most visually appealing turret sections you will ever see in a video game. We're gunning down dozens of Helghast fighters here while watching multiple of our own cruisers get shot down out of the sky. Seriously, who came up with this? I'd like to literally thank whoever wrote this game's narrative for creating it because it's just so cool. The writers credited are Philip Lawrence, Jonathan Cray, and Ian Howe, all three of whom have gone on to work on criminally few games since then, with Ian Howe only seemingly ever having worked on this game alone. What a shame, man. Although Philip Lawrence is credited for the screenplay. Eventually, however, we literally fire every last round we have until we're out of bullets. Relinking with Natco, we get an announcement from Templar over the speaker.
This is Templar. I've asked a lot from each one of you. You've never let me down. Now I'm going to ask one more thing. Evacuate the new sun and put your trust in me one last time to do what needs to be done. Get off the ship. Head to the ground with 2 surviving cruisers. Continue the fight. Beat the Helghast and go home as heroes. It's been an honor to serve with you.
He said it, man. As the cargo elevator descends, we end up fighting our way through the remaining Helghast forces on the ship, and they seem to be aware that they're going to die here no matter what, because they are fighting like it's their last chance to. I just want to point out how good the lighting here is, too. This is on PS3 hardware in 2009. I've been seeing footage for games releasing in 2024, almost 15 years later, that look worse than this game does. It's not all just graphical fidelity either. A huge amount of how good this game looks can be credited to both the art design and direction. It's a damn good thing Sony let the boys over at Guerrilla cook because they delivered with this one. After fighting our way to the end of the ship, which is currently both on fire and about to fall out of the sky, we managed to secure our exit out of here.
Sam! Come on! On my way!
Evelyn, we're approaching the grid coordinates.
I'll prep the autopilot. Jan?
Colonel Templar.
Colonel Radek. This is unexpected.
I'd rather we had met in combat. Like soldiers.
I agree. But we find ourselves here.
Indeed. Now, give me the nuclear codes. The women told me they were here.
Well, they are. But my access clearance has been revoked.
Oh, you make a very poor liar, Colonel. Now give me the codes.
Without authorization from High Command, those codes are going nowhere.
Do not toy with me.
No!
Download the code data!
They shot the colonel! Jan! No! Rico!
Wait, Jan? I thought his name was Young.
It's too late! You got your hands off me! Sam! Sam, come on!
User override. Station thrusters disengaged. Alert. Flight profile compromised. Insufficient lift to maintain altitude. Warning. Collision alert. Altitude 1,500 meters.
not to ruin the moment, but when did Jan's name start getting pronounced as Jan? I'm not crazy either. In the first game, he is referred to as Jan by multiple characters. So I'm not sure what happened there, but it doesn't matter now. Jan Templar is dead, and he died a hero. As for what's left of Alpha Squad, we've got our orders. Rico is on serious edge right now, along with Sev. Both soldiers have lost brothers in arms along with every ISA troop on this planet, so the time for mourning will be delayed by force. Right now we need to...
Whoa! Don't shoot!
Who the fuck are you?
Private Richards. My fire team's at an outpost nearby. Been scouting around, avoiding hate patrol.
Hey! What is this shit?
I don't know. I was gonna check it out when you cowboys arrived.
What?
Alright! I'm going to get this thing back to the outpost and leave you guys to your business.
I don't think so. Sam, take the XO and take the high ground. We go out on foot.
Whatever.
You know, I can appreciate that Rico is hurting, but that dude was literally on our side. Doesn't matter now, we've got a mech section. I have no idea what was going on with games between like 2005 to 2015, but it was like a mech section was mandatory in every big budget shooter game for a while. Not that I'm complaining.
Come on, man, open your eyes. You see any brass around here? They screwed this whole thing up. Only it's us that get shafted.
You got a big mouth.
What is it with you? You looking to be some kind of war hero again? It's over. Your friend Templar, he offed himself and left us all in the shit. Rico! Rico! What the hell you doing, man?
Man needed to learn some respect. Let's move.
Rico is unhinged right now. There are not a lot of us left on this planet, and we are quite literally stranded dead center on the enemy's home field advantage. Making enemies out of our own allies could not be a worse idea. The mech controls exactly how you would expect, by the way, which is a huge relief after dealing with the earlier vehicle section from the first mission. Despite that little section being something of a letdown, this part pretty much makes up for it in full. I mean, if you don't love marching through a canyon of industrialized ruins, blowing shit up and killing enemy soldiers, then, I mean, you may as well not even bother trying a Killzone game, because this is what it's all about. It's not an enormously long level, but it's still awesome, and makes for a fantastic penultimate mission for the game's finale. Last thing we do is blow up a handful of tanks and secure the area so we can relink with Captain Narville.
Glad to see you're back in action. Now we just need to rendezvous with our platoons in the city, and we're clear to take the palace. I know you guys are pretty down about our friends on the new sun, but we have to concentrate.
Sorry, moved his own damn city.
Guess we're the only beachhead left.
Where's your goddamn CO? You call yourselves Marines? Get on your feet, goddammit! All of you! We're not done here!
Not like this, man. I'm going after Vasari. Not waiting here for his goddamn army to come finish us off.
What the fuck? We're screwed either way, right?
How about it, Seth?
What's left of our forward unit just called in. Seeing 2 entire regiments of Helghast reinforcements heading our way. Radek's personal guard taking point. Probably pissed off as fuck that their city got destroyed, and hell-bent on gutting each and every one of us. So yeah, Natko's right. We're fucked either way. But when has that stopped us before?
All right.
That is hype. All that's left now is a full frontal assault of Visari's palace, and it's such a fantastic climax. Things are tense from the beginning to the end of this mission. Bullets are flying from so many directions, it stops mattering if it's friendly or not. What's left of the ISA on the planet Helgen are all right here, right now, and since their defense grid is down, courtesy of Captain Jan Templar, the palace is vulnerable to a head-on attack. Our only goal right now is neutralizing the palace's arc battery, but getting to it is proving to be more than a little problematic. The graphics are full send here too, with ash particles covering the area, a massive arc battery jutting out of the building towards the sky above us, and a mushroom cloud the size of Kansas looming over the background to create both an orange hue saturating the air around us and the reminder that the entire city over there has just been completely wiped out of existence. The only way to ensure that all of this wasn't for nothing is to finish what we came here for, and to capture Scholar Visari alive in order to make him stand trial for his actions. On our way there, we just happened to come across some anti-air towers begging to be demolished, and since we've sort of been running demolition duties since arriving on Helgen, the honor of taking care of it is given to us. There's 3 towers to take down, each one loaded with the explosive element called Petricite that the Helghast have been using for fuel, which means it'll only take one well-placed charge to send the whole thing up in flames. Getting into one tower was hard enough, but now we need to do it 2 more times before we can move on. After we get those anti-air munitions shut down, we call in some air support to take that arc battery offline. All the while, Rico and I take an elevator trip up to Visari's palace.
Command to ground forces! Prepare for shockwave! Take cover! It's about fucking time the Navy blew up that electric pilot junk.
Taking out that battery was a massive victory, but it's not over. The next part is the final push to reach the palace, and I'm not exaggerating when I say it's the most well-guarded Helghast-dense location in the whole game. It's actually so intense that the game itself started struggling to maintain a consistent frame rate, which, I mean, I can hardly blame it. Look at how much is going on here. It's insane. A strategic use of grenades and ammunition mixed with a heavy reliance on cover-to-cover movement is going to be the only feasible way to push forward. Again, we're on their front porch, and they currently outnumber us something like 5-1. If we can get to Visari, then it's possible we can put an end to this and make them lay down their arms. But otherwise, holding this palace, even after we've taken it, seems like it would be an impossible task. After some extremely intense close quarters fighting, we do finally cut down the remaining defenses between us and the palace, allowing us to breach the main door. This is as close to Visari as we've ever been.
Narco, come on! You guys go ahead, I'll stay out here and keep at bay!
It's just Rico and Sev against whatever the hell is waiting for us in this lobby. No reinforcements and a short time limit before what's left of our boys out there will probably have to vacate the whole damn city. As fate would have it though, an opportunity for a little payback has presented itself.
Security identified a breach of the main gate.
Why didn't 2nd Platoon? I'll deal with these 2 myself. Didn't I kill all of you yet? Cut them off. Break those 2 up! Don't let them support each other!
Okay, when did he get a teleporter? What the hell? This is the final battle of the game. If you were hoping for a climax, you're looking at it. We're in a final showdown against Visari's top guy, Colonel Radek. If you hadn't noticed yet, Radek shares the same voice actor as Haka from the first game. At first, I thought there was going to be some kind of twist here where Radek ended up being revealed as Haka, and that was supposed to make him killing Templar feel that much more intense, and this final battle between Rico and Haka would have been a kind of dramatic ending after Rico saved him at the end of Killzone 1. Meaning Rico would have to bear the guilt for Templar's death indirectly. I was wrong about all of that, however. Radek is his own individual character. They just opted to use the same voice actor. If I'm being honest, I'm still very suspicious that the scenario I just described might have been the original intention. Not only does it fit very snugly into the situation we find ourselves in here, but it shares the same over-the-top drama campiness that the first Killzone was saturated in. Maybe at some point, one of the writers I mentioned earlier came in and scrapped the idea, or maybe I'm way off base and that was never even considered, and they just thought this voice actor was a great fit for Radek. Which he is, by the way. Regardless, I'm pretty happy that isn't the case, because it allows this final fight to feel more real and simplistic for what it is in a great way.
You seem to want this to be personal. It will be my pleasure.
Eventually, Radek runs out of soldiers and comes down to face us himself. This is the second kind of boss battle of the game, the first being the A-Tac from level 5. This one is a bit harder though. Radek can teleport anywhere at any time, and often likes to sprint towards you with his combat knife, which can damn near one-hit you if he gets close enough. The final showdown here is super tense and requires some quick reaction time, but damn was it satisfying to react fast enough to cut him up with a knife before he had the chance to hit me. A knife fight with the final boss of the game wasn't something I was expecting, but I don't think there's any more badass way it could have ended than this. Eventually, we do manage to beat him, and that's when the game pulls out all of the stops and delivers one of the coolest ending cutscenes I've ever seen.
Killing that son of a bitch for Jan was a good fucking start.
Looks like they killed themselves. Classy. Saves me the effort.
Time to finish this thing now.
Or maybe that sick fuck Radek killed them for practice.
Where's Vasari? I want to break that motherfucker's face myself.
Either way, they got what they deserved. Let's go collect their boss.
Scholar Vasari! Scholar Vasari, I'm placing you under arrest under Article 27.
And who are you, soldier?
Savchenko. Sergeant, first class.
They send a sergeant to take Vasari? Are your commanders really all so afraid?
War's over, Vasari. You lost.
Really, Sergeant? And who won? The cowards who commanded you and your comrades here to die? The Helghast have lost nothing. We fight for who we are. We wear our wounds like badges of honor. Helghan is ours, and we will die before we let it fall to plunder us. That is why your leaders dare not make a martyr of me. Your fleet burned, your friends butchered, and you become a hero for saving my life? Does that sound like a victory to you, Sergeant Savchenko?
Son of a bitch.
Good men have died, and I'll see you rot in a cell for it. You'll pay for what you've done!
For giving my people pride, purpose. We have built this great nation from nothing. Take me, and Helghan will dissolve into chaos. The ISA war machine, powerless against the sheer will of my people. We will choke the streets with our dead before we surrender. Your masters will beg me to restore order. You have not won! You will never go! No! Madness. Madness begins.
Sergeant? Sergeant, what happened? Shit. Seth! God damn it!
Fuck! Hellgas shipped? I thought first wave took them all
We're
out.
screwed! Oh man! I can't believe this!
We need to get the fuck out of here!
Move out! Move out! Report to your COs!
Come on, people! Let's go! Let's go!
And that is Killzone 2. They really just don't make games like this anymore. It's not trying too hard to be something it's not, but it does strike a chord with me in an intense way that delivers on exactly what the Killzone universe is capable of being. I had never played this game before doing so for this video, and I can tell you now that it's one of the best games I've had the chance to play on the channel. As a shooter, it's competent. Really not the best, but definitely not the worst. I'd say it's a passable good time. As an action game though, Killzone 2 should be considered one of the greats. Every set piece and environment has been meticulously designed to be as impactful and immersive as they could make it. This game doesn't waste a single aspect of any of its levels. It's all great. The story isn't a masterpiece or anything, but it's such an enormous improvement over the first game that it almost feels like one. We've gone from the plot of a children's cartoon to a competently written story with nuance, flawed main characters, and interactions that feel like something you would hear in the scenario they're placed in, as opposed to dialogue that seemed to exist only to drive a plot line. Sevchenko is a pretty weak character, I'll admit, but Rico and Garza are both great and evoke a sense of life that makes them feel more realistic than anything the first game delivered. Templar's character has certainly matured in this one too, and although the absence of Luger and Haka was a bit odd at first, I think it may have been for the best so that this game could carve out a different identity as something more serious. Killzone 2 doesn't want to be a hero shooter, so the recurrence of the first game's heroes may have just distracted from what this game wants to be. This is why hiring competent writers is so important. A compelling story with interesting characters does so much to bring whatever world you're creating to life. Alternatively, a shallow plot with cardboard characters can utterly cripple a great game by making it feel like the world you're playing in is silly or stupid. I can't say for certain what changed between the first game and this one, but I'm glad whatever changed did. The ending speech from Visari alone is a testament to how this game has grown from its predecessor. Visari is clearly a warmongering tyrant, but he does make some damn good points about the ISA choosing to invade Helgen with strict orders to take Visari alive in order to make an example out of him, all the while shedding no blood on the battlefield themselves, and sitting back to claim the glory of victory while the people who actually earned it had to do so by killing, dying, or watching fellow soldiers die. He provokes Rico, a character who has demonstrated time and time again that he's too emotionally volatile to handle a mission like this, into killing him. Visari does this because he knows that if he's killed by an ISA soldier right there in that room, that he'll be martyred, and it'll cause the whole of Helgen to fall into a war-crazed frenzy for vengeance. If it had just been Sev here, this ploy would not have worked. As I mentioned near the start of the video, multiple other options were pitched to the Vecta government on how to handle the Helghast forces, and a clean assassination of Visari was being pushed by Haka himself. The Vecta government rejected these ideas in favor of a literal full-scale invasion of Helgen to capture Visari alive and put him on trial. The claim was that killing him would martyr him and cause a war to break out, but realistically, invading the planet is already going to do that anyway, and you're sending thousands of ISA soldiers to a guaranteed death. It seems likely that the Vecta government wanted to put Visari on trial as a show of might, a pride thing, to make an example out of him for daring to stand against them and seek revenge for when they exiled the Helgen people to a viciously inhospitable planet thinking they would die there. Visari is clearly a bloodthirsty maniac, so much to the point that we see in the game how anyone not associated with the Helgen military is completely deprived to live in slums while the military gets massive budgets for clean architecture. We overhear multiple Helghast soldiers talking about how Colonel Radek executed some of his own men for dress code violations, and how Helgen civilians not serving in the military are parasites. It's clear to any reasonable person playing that we're not really supposed to sympathize with this faction, but we are given the tools to understand how someone like Visari ended up in charge, and why the Helghast are so viciously ready for warfare. The ISA higher-ups and Vectan government aren't depicted as some righteous force fighting for freedom and moral good, but rather a military superpower eagerly just as bloodthirsty and willing to see thousands of its own men and women die to make an example of their enemy leader on principle. It's a game about war. A full-scale invasion like this was going to cause a retaliation no matter what. If Alpha Squad had managed to capture Visari alive and make him stand trial, I cannot fathom that would have prevented the Helghast from striking back at Vecta. That being said, killing him in his throne room like this after also invading their planet was probably the single worst case scenario and likely will result in the most chaotic outcome. Although I don't know since I haven't played Killzone 3 yet, so I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens next when the time comes. Before that, however, there are a handful of other aspects about Killzone 2 I want to cover before we wrap up. The first of which is the multiplayer. Killzone 2 may not have been billing itself as a Halo killer the way the first game was, but it was still an FPS game competing with dozens of other military-like shooters on the market at the time, and that means it needed to offer a high-octane, fast-paced multiplayer mode for fans to sink their teeth into for extra content. Now, I can't really play this game online for obvious reasons, but luckily, Killzone 2 offers bots in its multiplayer matches, so I can talk a bit about it here. The first thing I'll say is that Killzone 2's single biggest advantage when it comes to the multiplayer is also its greatest disadvantage, and that is its exclusivity. Since the PS3 really didn't have that many AAA FPS games to choose from, especially around the time of Killzone 2's release, pretty much anybody who owned one was going to at least try Killzone 2 out and give it a chance. However, because the PS3 was launched at a staggering price tag of $600, or $500 for a lower-end model, not a lot of people actually had one to begin with. So, with those factors in mind, how is Killzone 2's multiplayer mode? I mean, it's pretty good. It's probably exactly what you would imagine it is, a series of medium-sized maps on which two teams are pitted against each other to fight it out and see who wins. One of the more unique things I noticed about this one, as opposed to other multiplayer shooters from the time, is that the objective constantly changes throughout a single match. So you'll go from securing zones, to executing a predetermined target, to just standard team deathmatch, all in less than 10 minutes usually. If I had to describe it, I think I'd say it's kind of like if someone mixed the older Modern Warfare games with Team Fortress 2. Because you can pick different character classes like Medic and Spy, and by the time I was done running matches, I was always paranoid that one of my teammates was a spy in disguise, a sensation I felt most prominently in Team Fortress 2. For those of you who own a PS3, I've seen that people still host events for this game's multiplayer and try to run matches from time to time. So if you loved this game back in the day, then you can actually do a few things to find active matches. All of the maps seem to just be sections from the campaign, ripped and reworked into multiplayer arenas, but I think that actually worked well since all of the single-player levels were so incredibly well designed. This multiplayer mode is a pretty fun inclusion for the game, and I'm sure it was an awesome time back in its heyday, but I mean, you obviously wouldn't have much of a reason to try it currently given its PS3 exclusivity. Which brings me to my customary port rant. If you've been on the channel before, you know what I'm about to say. Killzone 2 deserves to be ported to the PC. Now, from what I understand, porting PS3 games is an insanely difficult task. I don't know the specifics, but based on conversations I've had in the past, something with how the PS3 hardware worked has made working with old exclusives a nightmare. It's apparently why we don't see very many PS3 exclusives being ported to modern hardware beyond emulation. but I can't fathom that it's more expensive to hire a team to develop a competent port of Killzones 1 through 3 than it would be to greenlight one of these hyper-inflated quadruple-A cinematic story games Sony's been dishing out lately. You've got a built-in audience for Killzone already, and a horde of potential new audience members who are probably not only curious about these games and would be willing to try them, but are also not being targeted as a demographic anymore by modern games. As someone who lives for super serious, over-the-top dude bro games like this, I am telling you that it feels like modern studios fucking hate me. Which is why you see me chasing old games like this, that I feel deserve my attention and support more than modern ones. That's just me saying how I feel as a consumer, and is not my attempt at making a statement on the current state of the video game industry. I'm sure there are millions of people who are loving these modern titles, and I'm happy for them, and they're getting what they want. As for me, however, modern games rarely interest me because they're clearly not trying to appeal to me and aren't made for me. It's not because they're modern, it's because they're not what I want. The reason I'm saying this is because playing Killzone 2 was another reminder of what the kind of game I enjoy looks like. I don't know how else to describe it, but a melodramatic dude bro shooter that takes itself super seriously and tries to be as explosive and conventionally badass as possible. I'm hesitant to use the term because it's lost nearly all meaning now, but I miss edgy games. It's not the military shooter aspect I'm referring to either, it's the tone, atmosphere, and sincerity. It's the fact that when you shoot an enemy in the head with a shotgun in this game, it explodes like a watermelon. No one's making quips or being self-aware every 5 seconds. The point is that there are millions of other people who love to play video games that are not being catered to right now. A literal open market in a vacuum. If studios suddenly did want to develop new games for people like me, that'd be great, but even then, they could still be making some serious money without even needing to produce new media by just porting exclusives like this to the PC. If Sony could pay an R&D team to streamline the process of porting PS3 games to the PC in a way that optimizes the game well and makes it quicker and easier for less experienced studios to handle it, then it might not pay itself back on Killzone alone, but other PS3 titles like Resistance, Infamous, Little Big Planet, and more. We've seen other PS3 games come to PC, like the Uncharted games, so I know it can be done. I'm just not sure why the hell these studios are just letting these games sit on an old console like this when they could be available digitally on PC and still actively making the studio money. I would very much love to experience these games on the PC, but until then, I'm just glad I've gotten to go back and play them at all. Another element of Killzone 2 that's been significantly improved over the first is the soundtrack. The series has maintained the same composer named Joris de Man, and although I was critical of his work on the first game, the entire score this time is fantastic. It has a much stronger sense of identity this time around, and carrying over many of the same leitmotifs from the first game, but implementing them into a score that is overall far more intense and impactful. This sounds like the soundtrack to a science fiction military action game. Not much more to say than that. His work on this game was an exceptional contribution that served to elevate the product in every way with its inclusion. I'm not the only one with such positive feelings towards this game either, as Killzone 2 currently holds a Metacritic score of 91, with most video game magazines and reviewers considering it to be a must-play for PS3 owners and fans of FPS games in general. The game received particular praise for its visuals and online play, though many critics felt its story was lackluster and run-of-the-mill, a sentiment I personally do understand despite my enjoyment of the game's honest simplicity. Despite its incredible success critically, Killzone 2 underperformed financially. Sony reported that the game failed to meet expectations after selling less than 500,000 copies in the United States in the first month. By May, however, it had surpassed 1 million copies sold worldwide. Regardless, as we know now, Sony would still go on to greenlight another sequel for release on the PS3, so clearly Killzone 2 earned its keep. I think it's clear from what I've covered that Killzone 2 is a phenomenal game and a must-play for anyone hoping to go back and experience some of the best games available for the Sony PlayStation 3. We can still hope for a PC port to come out someday, and I would love for that to happen and date these videos with my mentioning of it, but until then, if you've got a PS3 and haven't played this yet, then I heavily recommend it. Unfortunately, I don't think I can recommend attempting to emulate it with your legitimately owned copy, at least not in its current state. Although the game can be played that way and is mostly stable, the controls, input delay, and a few other bugs are likely to sour the experience for many who might pursue that method. I hope this also changes in time. If you're a fan of sci-fi or shooters though, Killzone 2 probably is worth trying to play for yourself. It's fun, it's intense, and it's exciting. The story isn't mind-blowing or anything, but I think that works to its advantage. It's exactly what it needs to be in order to best serve the game that it's for. Killzone 2 isn't at any point attempting to be something it's not, and because of that, playing it feels like experiencing a product that's very honest about what it wants to be, and I really like that about it. This game feels like a work of passion. Anyone who takes even a passing look at Killzone 2 can tell how much time and love went into making it. And what we're left with is a genuinely cinematic video game experience that deserves far better than how it's being treated today. Thanks for watching, everyone. It was actually pretty nice to be so positive about this game after how critical I was of the first one, but I try to be as honest as I can in these videos. If you enjoyed the video and had fun reliving the Killzone 2 experience, or just seeing it for the first time, then I'd ask that you like the video and leave a comment about it, because those things really help out with the channel and the algorithm. Of course, if you're not already subscribed to me but love old video game content like this, then I'd ask that you consider doing so, because I've got tons more old games I'm working on videos for right now. So stick around as we see what else is out there. Of course, members of the channel get early access to most of my videos a week or two before the release, as well as access to my live stream replays, special community posts, and more. Thanks again to everyone for watching, and I hope I'll see you in the next video, but until then, that's all I've got for you.